Hello, everybody, and sorry that you can't see our faces, but I promise that Jason and I are actually behind the screen. But more importantly, we're going to be taking you through the 2 weeks of programming that you downloaded or you're interested in, but also more importantly, really taking you through our principles and even who we are as coaches. And Jason and I combined have been coaching probably 25 years at this point, and I'm sure that he could agree. You could have the best program in the world, but the athlete that doesn't trust and is not bought into what they're doing makes it the worst program in the world. And so we're here today to really give you guys a view into who we are. And more importantly, Jason is the mastermind behind our programs. And it's going to give you guys a chance to learn more about Jason and the amazing work that he's done. And we're going to go through our principles as programmers, but also more importantly, we're going to take you through the 2-week sample so you guys could really understand what's going on. And we're going to do our best to take these sheets of paper that you guys have downloaded and really bring them to life for you guys as athletes. And so without further ado, here we go. So one, like I said, we're going to talk about the Conquer methodology, talking about what program may be right for you based on your goals. So we'll go get a little deeper in that. We've gotten a lot of emails about this particular part about what training path is right for you. And so we're going to hopefully clear that up for a lot of you guys so you guys know exactly what you're looking for where you guys are at, not only with your goals, but your priorities in your life to attain those goals. And then we're going to walk through each of those weeks of those programming, depending on which one you viewed, so you guys could get a big overview of who we are and what we do. So first, Jason Leiden. So Jason Leiden is not only my very, very dear friend, but he's also my mentor in coaching. So he's the co-founder and head trainer of Conquer Athlete. And guys, I'm not going to lie to you. For me anyways, Jason is the top of what we do. I could only speak from my experience, and my experience is that I have never met someone more dedicated to coaching and programming all the time. And I've met a lot of people that have transcended into the programming realm and also transcended in the building and the business realm. And what happens to a lot of these coaches is once they get into the business realm, from my experience, they start going more business side than coaching side. And Jason has probably been the best person that I have seen to teeter-totter between both of those worlds, being able to create things and systems and operations as a business owner, but never lose his passion as a coach, someone that's on the floor every day, talking with athletes, working with athletes, and constantly working for it. So Jay, why don't you talk a little bit about, your passion as a coach and why you continue to do this after all these years?
Absolutely. Thank you, Angelo, for that amazing intro, and welcome everybody. So coaching for me is something that I've always been the most passionate about. And it's always been something that I've gravitated to. Through college, I was in exercise science, phys ed, and health. And then that brought me to owning a facility and owning a gym when I got out. And as I've continually progressed with inside coaching, it's something that I never wanted to step away from. And I always wanted to continually learn from. I view myself as a lifelong learner, and I'm constantly seeking out ways to do what I do better. And I believe that there's so many different ways for something to get done. And I'm one of the people, Angelo, who I don't think there's exactly one way. And that's something that we pride ourselves on with Inside Conquer and the programs that we develop, that there's so many different ways that people can get from point A to point B. And we want to really work with everybody to all the different knowledge and practices that we have to make sure everyone reaches their goals. And it's something that just kind of gets me out of bed, and something that you talk about a lot inside your mentorship programs, which is finding your beacon. And individuals need to know what their passion is and what drives them to be a better person. And coaching and programming is one of those for me.
It's awesome. Yeah. Man, Jay, that's a great way to put it. And I couldn't agree more, being someone that has known you for 8 years at this point. And,
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I love doing seminars with you, because your energy and excitement is really great. And we've been able to do seminars together as both for athletes and for coaches, which I think is super fun, that we're able to constantly get out there and get away from behind the screen, should we say, and really work with people that have been following us and work with us.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. So a little bit about me. So I am, sorry, I'll go back to this slide. Excuse me. So I'm the co-owner of Conquer Athlete. I've been a coach now. Man, I've been coaching since about July 2009. Sorry about the little marks here. I guess I should have edited that, but we'll be all good. I'm the owner of O'Hare CrossFit. November 2010, I opened up OCF. I'm also the host of an Alpha Hippie podcast. And yeah, guys, I'm a lifelong teacher. I would really venture to say I really pride myself on being a teacher to help individuals and people be the best versions of themselves. That is where I have evolved in my teaching craft over the years. I'm still super passionate about CrossFit and fitness and all of those things, but I am also, like I said, my main vocation at this point in my life is to help people be the best versions of themselves. And if it's through fitness, if it's through things like Alpha Hippie, if it's coaching a CrossFit class, everything that I try to do, I'm really passionate about translating that out into the people. And I just like when after an interaction with anybody on any level that they feel better about something or feeling like they could approach their life in a better way. And so I am very honored to be a part of Conquer. It is by far been one of the most fun, exhilarating, and honestly biggest things for me to grow as a coach, an individual, being able to work with alongside the coaching staff and Jay that we have. It really provides a place for me as a coach to never let my guard down, should you say. I'm really, we're constantly learning, we're constantly sharing things, we're constantly sharing books. And so Conquer has just been a fountain of me being able to really grow as a coach. So I'm just super grateful to be a part of it. And I'm even more grateful for you to be even listening to us right now.
Awesome.
All right. So Conquer Athlete. So this idea of Conquer Athlete started with at first just a conversation between Jason and I, just really thinking about, you could create more with people than without people. And I was doing my thing and Jason was doing his thing in the Northeast. I was more in the Midwest. And we were talking just about, what we could collaborate and create on. And we realized that we do work really well together and we're great friends. So we have a really great line of communication. And so we decided to bring our knowledge together and experience to really create Conquer. And what Conquer really is, first and foremost, is this is hard to say, but it is a representation of Jason's and I's relationship that is founded on love, respect, and just gratitude for being a part of this thing, CrossFit. I mean, Jason and I laugh and talk about this all the time that, CrossFit could go as a million directions as it wants. There could be a games one year or regionals one year versus the other. But we both wouldn't know what our adult lives would look like without this, this thing called CrossFit. And so Conquer Athlete is first and foremost two devoted coaches and friends coming together to try to create something bigger and better. And I hope that you're experiencing that from the second that you listen to one of our podcasts. And even that you're looking into this program with us. And so we were super excited to launch the Conquer Athlete podcast this year, which has been absolutely amazing to do. Jay, for you, I had a little bit more experience with the podcasting stuff. How do you feel about it thus far?
I love podcasts. I love to talk. I love to hear myself talk, and I love to hear other people.
That's awesome.
It's going really well. It was a learning curve for me, and I don't generally like to listen to things I do, but it caused me to listen to more things I do and say and how I say them to continually develop and deliver a great product to everybody that goes along with the vision of Conquer Athlete. And the podcast really forced me to slow down and think on a bigger scale of my language and the message that we're truly getting out along the vision of the Elite Epicenter for, training and education. And I love it. I have a great time doing it. I love following your lead with it. So I'm stoked for it. I hope everyone enjoys it.
Oh, there's no doubt. We came out with some heavy hitters right off the bat. It was great. Just a quick question before we move on any further. Who are you looking at and who am I looking at in this picture that we didn't look at the same person?
That's just phenomenal. So for everybody listening, we did this video and we got through and they told us to look straight ahead and not look at the camera, which is the hardest thing ever. And I think the last second I glanced at the camera and Angela didn't. And that's what they've decided to maintain. So it's
been the main image.
Act of stoicism right there between the two of us.
Oh, that's awesome. So guys, as we were saying earlier, that Jason and I have had a lot of history of coaching athletes long before Conquer Athlete. Jason has had an athlete at the games basically every year since 2009, Jay?
Correct. 2009.
Yeah. And so, the Conquer Athlete itself is a newer company, but the players in this game have been here quite a while. I've had games athletes and regional athletes, man, every year, I think since 2013 for me, or 2012, one of those kind of times, but definitely been putting a lot of time into this. What's really amazing too about our CrossFit games and competitive experience is we've both coached individuals, masters, teens, and teams. But more importantly, and this is what I'm the most proud of, is Jason and I have taken athletes from very little to no experience in CrossFit with no competitive experience and have gotten them to the games. And that is probably one of the things that I pride our company on the most is taking someone that is really raw and finding, shaping this diamond into helping them get to the pinnacle of our sport. And I think a lot of times coaches aren't putting a lot of stuff out there about that, not to try to knock anybody in any way. But, if you have someone that was, a busting at the seams coming on the scene, and then next year you coach them and they go to the games, I'm not trying to take away anything from that, but being able to really take someone that has a little experience and really shape them has been it's what I'm the most proud of. One of the things I'm the most proud of, I should say, with Conquer, and really brings me so much joy that we are able to really bring that for people and bring that for everyone. And so I hope if you're listening to this, just know that if you have a big goal, and I'm not saying that everyone could get there, but we definitely have experience with doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to harp on what you just said, but I hope everyone kind of can feel the energy and excitement from us with inside this, and just know that everything that we do, every program that we write is done with complete meticulous detail and focus towards the goals of what we set within inside that program for the template or the individual. And that essentially is to make you the best you can possibly become, no matter what that is.
Absolutely. Perfect. And also too, to add, I'm sure you guys are looking at the slide. We've worked with athletes of all different shapes and sizes. So we've actually, been able to expand outside of just the sport of fitness. We've worked with athletes from different sports and national weightlifters and wrestlers and baseball players and all this different area. And I think that's really provided Jason and I a great foundation of true understanding of strength and conditioning principles that allow our athletes to be healthier longer. I think that's probably the one thing that Jason and I have done really well is, getting someone to do a high level of muscle ups or things like that, takes certain amount of time and care, and it's a really deep process. And I think that our overall strength and conditioning background with working with athletes in other sports have really provided us a good understanding of what that takes.
Absolutely. Can't agree with more.
All right. Perfect. All right. So a couple common challenges that we see when people are looking for the program. The first thing that we hear is I'm doing the wrong program. And Jay, when you hear that, when someone says I'm doing the wrong program, what's the first things that come to your mind?
Honestly, I don't think they're taking enough ownership for what they're doing.
Sure.
I think lots of times people are saying, hey, I'm doing the wrong program. This programming isn't meant for me. And that might be. And if that is the wrong program for you, then you should be doing something that's individualized. And I think some common challenges that people face, if I backtrack a little bit more, Angelo, is that people want individual goals, but they're following a templated program. And I think that's a big understanding that people need to have is if you have specific goals, then you need to do an individualized program. If you're following a template, then you have to understand that that template is written off an avatar. And that might be the wrong program for you. And that's something that we try to really focus on within inside of Conquer Athlete. We do have templates, and we also focus on individualized programs. And people who are within inside of our templates, they have the ability to work with coaches. And on top of that, we have this online community where our coaches are on there 5 days a week answering questions and providing feedback to make sure that you're doing the right thing. So if people are facing a challenge of they feel it's the wrong program, we have the answer for you. We have coaches that are assisting you every single day within inside the Facebook community if they choose to use it. If they go to a Plus program, which we'll elaborate on more later, they can work with a coach more individually. And we have our individualized programs where it's written specifically for them. It's not a cookie cutter program that's tailored for them. It's a specific program for them. And that's how we offset that challenge.
Yeah, perfect, man. I couldn't agree with you more. I got a couple things just to add on that. Is one of the points of this whole video, if you're out there listening, is to really get you to understand the whys and thoughts behind our template programs, so you could really decide if this program is right for you. And that's something that, we're really hoping that you feel that at the end of this, which program that we offer is the best one for you. And just a quick note about our custom programming, or Conquer Custom, that Jay touched on. One of the things that Jason and I really pride ourselves on is not overloading our coaches to create a sense of just overwhelm. And then they wind up writing, or we've seen this in other experiences, where if a coach has 50, 100 clients, it's going to be really difficult for them with time management to be able to write a true individualized program. So we really limit our coaches with their client load to make sure that they're being the most effective. Jason is extremely diligent at staying on top of our coaching staff to make sure that these programs are very individualized, very specific to each person. He goes through each of them monthly with all the coaches to review and make sure that they're coaching well on an individual basis. And also every week we have team calls to really bring it together. So I think, either way that you crack it, if you go with the templates, I hope that you understand exactly what we're looking for or who we're designing this for. And if that fits you, that's perfect. And the custom programs, we really want you to know that we take an extreme amount of pride, and, we're really grateful for you to make that custom investment, and we want to really live up to that.
Absolutely.
All right. Next question, Jay, for common challenges is, I'm not doing enough volume. What do you think about this? Because this is the taboo CrossFit kind of thing.
Volume is relative. And I think when people get caught or get put in trouble is when they compare the volume they should be doing versus what they think they should be doing, perceived on what other people are doing. And not to kind of have a tongue twister, but all volume is relative. And people might look at Rich Froning and think he does a lot of volume, but it's not a lot of volume for him. But that amount of volume will be a lot for other people. And one thing that we try to adhere to within inside of our programs, and more specifically with our individualized programming, right, is the effect of stress. Because everything you do from training is a stress adaptation. And if you're doing too much stimulus to the brain, to the central nervous system, then you're going to fatigue a lot faster. If you couple that with the metabolic stress of, let's just say, Angelo, aerobic running, mixed modal work, CrossFit style work, then your body's going to constantly be beat down. So volume is relative to what the person can handle. And that's something that we try to adhere to within inside everything we do, from the templates to the individualized stuff. Meaning, within inside of a template, we're trying to balance the amount of stress that we're putting on people, because there's the minimum amount of stress that someone needs to maintain what they have. There's a maximum amount that their body can maintain to see adaptation, right, before they overtrain. So we want to kind of toe the line of the middle based off specific phases that we're in to make sure people can progress accordingly. And where we can adjust this even more is when we get into the individualized programs, we're able to really tap into that person based off who they are, what kind of athlete they are, their lifestyle, their size, their daily schedule, and how we can apply the proper stimulus to see change and adaptation. And then as they grow within inside of their training abilities and age, they then can handle more volume. And that's something that we really adhere to within inside everything that we do.
Perfect, man. Couldn't agree more with you on that. All right. Last common challenge that we have gotten feedback on and seen in our sport. There's not enough intensity in my program. What do you think about that?
I think people have the term intensity wrong. And if you're looking at the sport of CrossFit, CrossFit is built around aerobic capacity for the most part. Meaning if you're going into the games or you're going into a sanctioned event, it's pretty much an aerobic dominant sport. Obviously, you need to have strength. So don't get me wrong. People will get to that in a second. However, too much intensity too often and or too soon is the easiest way to lead to an overtrained state. Too much intensity without focusing on pure foundation of aerobic capacity isn't going to necessarily build your aerobic capacity. So what we try to focus on within our programming is walking the proper line of building capacity, then with that capacity, transferring that into intensity to allow people to work more efficiently and effectively as it gets closer to an event, and then backtracking and building more capacity. So people think they need more intensity or they're doing too much intensity. The bottom line is yes, but we're going to work with them more efficiently to build capacity to add intensity onto that.
For sure. Intensities, when I think of intensity, I think of like fire, right? You could play with fire and sometimes you could get burned. You need to make sure that you have the right amount, because too little won't get you what you need, and too much, will knock you on your butt. You know what I mean? That's just pretty much how it goes.
Absolutely.
All right. So what are the real problems? So Jay and I was thinking about this after these common problems, and I just kind of want to run through these and really talk about this. One, you're jumping around from program to program. If you're one of those people that downloaded someone else's 2-week sample a couple weeks before, and now you're running into this one, you're moving to this one, consistency is always going to be king, right? It's just always going to make a big difference if you're spending time on your program and you're doing that. I know, Jay, me and you, and this next bullet point, me and you talk about this all the time. This is a real big problem for people. The training isn't the problem. They're not, recovery. They're not sleeping well. They're not, they don't have a good breathing practice to really calm their stress state, nutrition. What have you seen like this with athletes?
I look at this as there's 4 pillars before we kind of get into in-depth training. And this is something that we focus on a lot with inside of the Conquer community. You have movement efficiency, you have nutrition, you have sleep, and you have breathing. And inside all these things, if you were to take one away, it would be detrimental to your body. People don't put enough emphasis on that baseline, those baseline pillars to build upon everything else. That's what separates the good from the great, and that's what gives you the edge, right? Recovery, proper breathing patterns to upregulate or downregulate, nutrition, and sleep. And we have to tie that into the programming to really get the most out of each person.
For sure. This next one, this is something near and dear to my heart that I'm really sensitive about, I guess you could say, is rushing progressions due to sanctionals and not truly giving yourself enough time to develop. I think when you look at CrossFit as a sport, for the people that I have seen that get injured on their way, it's just skipping, it's from them just skipping the essential steps because they want to do Wodapalooza in 2020, and it really should be better to do it in 2021.
Couldn't agree with you more. They look at the sport, and we live in a time when everything's instant gratification. And with inside strength conditioning, there's no instant gratification. Things take time to develop. Strength takes time. Capacity takes time. Building your anaerobic threshold takes time. Building gymnastic skills takes time. Converting those baseline progressions into improved dynamic contractions for volume and intensity in improved quote-unquote sport takes time. And where people get in trouble is that they try to rush the time and they want it now. They want to develop a sanctional now. We want to develop athletes the right way. This might take longer, but it's going to be right. And then what happens is that in 1, 2, 3 years, we're now playing the long game where you guys are making runs at multiple sanctionals for multiple years versus a spark and a fizzle, because now you have to backtrack.
Man, it's absolutely wonderful. I think you and I were talking about this with Kelly Starrett is, we don't want to be coaching people just for a few years or a short period of time. We want to be coaching you through your evolution of fitness, whatever that needs to be. And if we're not keeping you healthy for that evolution, we're not going to be able to coach you, and you're not going to be able to really be active.
Correct.
All right, Jay. So Conquer training methodology. So I'm gonna kind of outline this, and I know that you are the creator of this, so we're going to talk a little bit deeper about it. I think we already touched on some of these things as you and I have just been kind of debunking some of the myths. But if there's anything that you could add, we'll start there. All right. Sure. So first, with training comes strength, right? Just being strong enough. And so what are your thoughts on developing strength, especially for a sport of CrossFit where you have absolute strength and speed strength?
We have to first develop, like you said, absolute strength. We have to get people strong enough. And while we get people strong enough, we also have to work on positions and efficiency. Sometimes people will jumpstart the strong enough phase because they want to get right into a weightlifting phase because that's sexy or that's what they see. But that's always going to be hindered by your strength. And then if you might get to that certain point of a snatch and clean jerk and you can't lift anymore because you're not strong enough to lift more. And now you're kind of backtracking. Essentially, from our methodology, we want to create strength first. Strength is and capacity are like the prices of admission, and they both take really long time to develop. But when done properly, this is what's going to continually elevate your ceiling and not cap your ceiling.
Yep, I love it, my friend. It's really important. Getting strong does take time. But once you're strong, it's a nice thing to have, and it's even a better thing to maintain.
Absolutely.
All right, the aerobic system. And this, for me anyway, Jay, this was your bread and butter. You were the first, this was even pre-Hinshaw with Rob Orlando. You were one of the first people making me do an hour row
Hmm.
long before it was ever in the CrossFit Games. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because this is what you've been charging with for a decade now.
Building capacity is essential. And when you fail to build the capacity, your ability to recover and your ability to feel rejuvenated and your ability to perform at a high output is going to diminish. Now, if we think about the capacity standpoint, ideally we want to have a huge aerobic base, and meaning we want people to be able to go long and go slow. Then from there, what we essentially want to do is create that and get that ability as close to their ability of intensity as we can. And once we can get that capacity close to the anaerobic threshold, we then have lots of money to play with in the bank, because we're able to recover, we're able to operate at a high intensity, and it's not going to beat us down. What happens is that when people don't have a truly developed aerobic system and they kind of jumpstart to the threshold style of work, then it essentially is going to catch up to them. And their ability to recover intra or extra session, meaning internally within inside the session or from day to day or week to week, is going to get harder and harder and harder. It's very similar to the strength. If you don't truly develop strength and you kind of jump right into weightlifting, then once you hit that peak, you're going to have to try to backtrack. We want to develop the aerobic system where it's going to give our athletes the best possible potential to increase their anaerobic threshold, and then from that, build upon their ability to operate well within inside the sport. And this isn't done sexy. This isn't kind of cool, and we're okay with that. We want you to go long and slow in the beginning. We're going to build upon that and layer inside different energy systems and domains to create, in our opinions, the best possible way for you to have an aerobic capacity.
Absolutely. If you're listening to this, if you're wondering what aerobic, the real developed aerobic system looks like when it's at its peak is, I'm sure you could agree with this too, Jay. Rich he had the best aerobic capacity and system when he was an individual, and that's why he would beat everyone on Sunday. It wasn't just because he was really motivated. It was because he was physically able to have a base that other people just didn't.
He recovered well. He was able to recover from day to day. He could sustain the volume because of a couple of factors. He could sustain the weight, and he moved really well. So his body was efficient, he was strong, and had a huge capacity.
Absolutely. This next one, I'm really excited for us to talk deeper on too is gymnastics. And I know that you have done an incredible amount of work with Power Monkey, and we still lean on them for assistance from time to time. We use them as a resource. So what are your view on developing gymnastics for our athletes?
So my view on gymnastics is the same as my view on strength. It's the same as my view on capacity. What changes is the modalities. And too often times people get too wrapped up in what they see with the kip and swinging. And we want to develop strict strength first. And we're going to focus on building people's ability to maintain shapes and then have the absolute strength for body pulling and pushing. And then from there, once we develop the stabilization, we develop the structural system, we develop the shapes, we're then going to progress into more the dynamic work. We're then going to slowly add volume. We're then going to put it into intensity. So from there, we're never capping. And we see this a lot when athletes don't focus enough on the strict work, and they kind of try to jumpstart into the sport and doing kipping ring muscle-ups, kipping bar muscle-ups. And what you're going to see is a cap, but they can't quite get past a certain number. Where you see other athletes able to continually build and increase that level, meaning, 3 years ago, 30 ring muscle-ups took 3 to 4 minutes. Now it's being done unbroken, right? So those athletes have extreme strength inside that. And we have a set progression within inside of our gymnastics program for every template that we do, from masters to elevate to compete. And this program is developed for those levels of those abilities to progress accordingly within inside our methodology of building gymnastics strength. Now, from an individualized standpoint, it gets even more tailored based off specifics of differences between pulling and pushing strength, grip strength, shuttling, lactate shuttle ability within inside gymnastics, and ability. But gymnastics should be looked at as the same as strength. There needs to be progressions, there needs to be levels in order to continually raise that ceiling, to put people in a position to be better at it and to improve.
Whew. I love it, Jay. I think that's just absolutely incredible how you put that. And those of you that are listening to that, I'm just going to say it in a slightly, just more general way if you want a little bit more with that too. And just basically when you think about gymnastics, think about it in two components, and then you eventually combine them. So one, like Jay mentioned, is the strict strength. You need to be able to do strict pull-ups, strict handstand push-ups, strict dips. Like you need to be able to support yourself that way. And then when you look at the dynamic aspect of CrossFit, you basically have two positions, the hollow and the arch. And when you really break down gymnastics capacity, it is the person that has the best strict strength and can maintain the hollow and arch positions the longest that gives you the most capacity. And I'm sure you've seen this with a lot of athletes, people that are listening to this, is the person that breaks down and has that bent arch and all that. Those are the ones that are usually breaking down, not feeling great, or the worst case scenario is that they're being injured. And we have to also be, as much as we want to build, we also have to be preventative of all those measures. And that's what really goes into our gymnastics program.
Absolutely.
All right, respecting the process, commitment and honoring the process, methods, progressions, and timings. This is the sign for me, anyways, Jay, when I'm coaching, is just an athlete that is really bought in and really just understands their goals and what we need to do to get there.
Absolutely. People need to, as you said, understand why they're doing what they're doing, and then we're going to help outline the goals, and then we're going to develop the systems around the goals. And then the more that the athlete adheres to that, the more they're going to see progress. And we've kind of harped on this a lot already with common problems and ways to debunk those problems. But you have to respect the process, and you have to stay inside the process. And that's the best way to reach your goals. It's every day doing the habits. Little by little, a little becomes a lot.
It's perfect. All right, breath work. One of the most powerful and under-focused areas of performance training. This is something in this time too, for me specifically, this is something that I am extremely passionate about, both from an up-regulating and down-regulating perspective. I really believe that this is the untapped potential for a lot of us. And so we really focus on giving you guys some tips and different protocols and things that you could do to really help you get ready for training, and also to, when you're done training, recover. And the best analogy I could give of this is if you're ever watching anything in the Nature Channel or National Geographic, a lion will chase a zebra to try and get some dinner. And if the zebra gets away, the zebra will walk about maybe 100 meters away and begin eating some food. And what you'll notice is the lion just goes and sits under the tree and takes a nap. And what that is an example of a nervous system response that they first had, which was sympathetic while they were chasing, or parasympathetic, excuse me. Or just, yeah, my backwards, Jay, help me. Parasympathetic. Yeah,
sympathetic while they're chasing.
Yeah, while they're chasing is sympathetic, excuse me. And then what they do is they go, parasympathetic is basically, reproduction, eating, sleeping, things that you need to do to rest up. And they do that immediately after they're done having that moment. And what happens to a lot of us as humans is we do not have many great protocols in place to help us downregulate. We could see a text message in the morning at 9 o'clock, and that thing could be weighing on our minds all day. And what winds up happening is your body doesn't know the difference between that email, you fighting with your partner or spouse, and then you doing a back squat. Stress is stress. And so we've really put in a lot of time and work into helping our athletes get the cutting edge of what it looks like to perform better.
Absolutely. You said it all. I got nothing to say to that.
All right, beautiful. And then nutrition, Jason touched on the pillar of nutrition and how we are such big advocates of making sure that you're eating well and hydrating and having accountability towards that. We just don't want to leave anything unturned, no stone unturned. We want to make sure that we're checking the boxes that we can control, because there's so many things in our lives that just wind up being outside our control.
Yeah. And sometimes I honestly think why we keep talking about nutrition, if I want to be honest, because it's something that is bombarded and out there. But still, as I talk to athletes, work with athletes, nutrition needs to be a huge component. And it is such a big component of what we do. Meaning, when you work with us and you're a Conquer athlete, our coaches are making sure that you guys are eating well. And we're going to give you advice and we're going to give you guidance. And if we don't know, we're going to refer you out to our nutritionist. Because you have to eat well to play the long game, to see your gains. You have to do what's right, and you have to put the right foods in your body.
For sure. Absolutely. Also, too, guys, Jason touched on this earlier. One of the perks of really working with us is we have a private Facebook group called the Conquer Athlete Training, Conquer Athlete group. And what it is we put our staff on clock, like office hours, to answer any questions that you may have about your training. You could post videos. So I just don't want anyone that's getting a template thinking that they're going to be given a template and it's best of luck to you. We've been really thinking about ways that we can make a template program as supportive as we possibly can. And so Monday through Friday, we have hours in there. And at this time, I am also the person that manages the template account. So also, too, I answer questions on True Coach all the time. So I just want you guys to know that we're trying to get you guys to see that we are trying to coach you, even if you're not necessarily buying the highest package program. We found that when we were looking at other programs that people have a individual design, which gets a lot of attention, and then everyone else is just hoping for the best. And we really want to develop a great coach and athlete relationship, whether you're with a template program or a custom program.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get into these programs, Jake. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to go through each of these programs, and Jason and I will really discuss who we're looking for, or who is the avatar, or who may be interested in each one of these. So Jason, let's start first. Conquer Elevate.
Absolutely. So our Conquer Elevate program is for the person who's had some experience doing CrossFit classes, someone who's had experience with inside a weight room, somebody who wants a little bit more with inside their training, but doesn't quite want to train like a competitor. So our Conquer Elevate program is going to focus on lots of the pillars that we spoke about. We're going to work on building your absolute strength. We're going to work on your positions. We're going to work on refining your speed strength throughout the course of the year. We're going to work on building your capacity, and we're going to work on your gymnastics ability. And on top of that, you guys will have fun workouts along different energy systems to do. The workouts themselves are going to systematically look to build upon intensity and volume accordance with ability. Now, with all that being said and everything I just outlined, the program itself is geared to last about 90 minutes to 2 hours, one session a day. And again, the Conquer Elevate program is perfect for those who are used to doing classes, who want to train a little bit more, who want to have a little bit more specificity to the training, meaning it's not GPP. You're going to focus on squat patterns and squat cycles, and pull patterns and pull cycles, and positions of the speed lifts. You're going to focus on building proper gymnastic strength. You're going to work on building capacity the correct way. But again, people who don't want to follow a true competitor program, which is a lot more involved and requires a lot more time. So ideally, within inside of our Conquer Elevate program, this is a program where people aren't going to have to worry about making lots of adjustments. We don't expect these people to snatch 225 and do 30 burpee ring muscle-ups inside of a workout. It's geared specifically for those who are comfortable with training and want to do a little bit more on a more structured program.
Yeah, that's perfect. I'm just going to add one little quick thing here. So if you're looking towards the Conquer Elevate, the best way I could explain this is this. When you are writing programming for a general CrossFit class, there are just certain things that you could have in sometimes, but you can't have all the time. Mm-hmm. And if you're taking class and you want to get better at, you want to be moving towards the sport of fitness, you want to be developing the right patterns. And like we said, before in the previous slides, you want to be doing them in a very strategic way. Conquer Elevate is the best program for you. It really helps that person that wants some more, that wants gymnastics a couple days a week, but also at the same time, I own a gym, Jason owns a gym. We can't have strict gymnastics. You know what I mean? It'll be really difficult to put inside of a program, or any sort of extra barbell work or barbell cycling stuff, just because we're trying to combine so much to give people just this GPP. Mm-hmm. So if you're that person that has a little bit extra time and wants to, move towards developing in the sport of CrossFit, this is the best program that we have available for you.
Absolutely.
All right, Jay. Next program for us is Conquer Masters. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so our Conquer Masters program is for our quote-unquote master style athlete. Now, this program we have written down age 35 to 60 plus. When we rate this program, we're focusing really more on individuals kind of 40 to 45 and up. And I say that for a couple caveats. Individuals who are 35 and 40 who want to train for the sport of fitness, they should be following the Conquer Compete plan. Okay. Now, individuals that are masters athletes, we have a lot more things that we have to adhere to. Meaning when we develop this program, we understand that these individuals have more involved with inside their lives. We're assuming they have families. We're assuming they have full-time jobs. We're assuming they carry a lot more stress. So we're looking at these factors when we write the program. We're focusing on how much stimulus or stress we're putting on the central nervous system. So that'd be like lifting heavy or doing high volume lifts. We're focusing on how much stress we're putting on the metabolic system. So that would be like the amount of CrossFit workouts they do, the amount of volume they do inside gymnastics and conditioning. On top of that, Angelo, for these athletes, we're looking at how much stress we're putting on their joints, their ankles, their knees, their lower back, their shoulders. These athletes need more attention here. Their bodies have been through more. With age comes a decreased ability to recover, as well as more kind of like joint by joint pain or discomfort. So our Conquer Masters program is geared for individuals who are of quote unquote the master's age, who have families, who want to get in and out of the gym, do an effective program with inside 60 to 90 minutes, and want to have a program that's tailored more to the aged athlete.
It's perfect. Yeah, just a couple quick notes also too. I know Jason said 40 plus. One of the things that we also do later on in our programming is Jason puts prescriptions and workouts for different age brackets, very similar to what people may see in an open style or in qualifier setting.
Absolutely.
Also too, Jay, I mean, you've worked with some of the best, Ron Ortiz, Annie Sakamoto. I mean, you are sort of the Pied Piper of the Masters.
Piper of the Masters. Yeah, we've been fortunate to work with some really good masters. So Sean Ramirez, Robbie Davis, Mike Egan, Ron Ortiz, Annie Sakamoto, Donna Bruce, April Lowe, Michelle Susie. So we've worked with lots of individuals who repeatedly been at the games, who have won first, second, third place, who have podium repeatedly. So we do have experience here. The main thing for people to think about with the Masters program is that we pay attention to your lives and the demand of it. We know that. We don't expect you guys to do what 20-year-olds are doing. If we have individuals, if you are quote unquote a master's age, which is 30, and let's say you're between the age of 35 and 45, and you want to do more and you feel great, then you're going to jump to the program that we're going to talk about next.
Yep. And last but certainly not least, Conquer Compete, Jay.
Our Conquer Compete program, Angelo, is our program for individuals that are gunning for an RX or an elite division at a sanctioned event, individuals that are quote unquote gunning for the games, individuals that want to train hard. This is an in-depth program. It's double sessions broken up because of the adherence of stress. We don't want to overload the body. There's going to be an AM session that's going to involve capacity training built out specifically across the span of the year. With inside that AM session is also going to be gymnastics work, again, that's built along our hierarchy of needs to progress throughout the year. There's going to be a PM session that's going to work on strength development from an absolute standpoint as well as a strength speed standpoint. When I say strength speed, Angelo, I'm referring to, snatches and clean reserves. Within inside that PM session, there's also going to be assistance work, unilateral work, bilateral work, multi-plane movement. So moving side to side, front to back, rotational work, structural and stabilization work. And then on top of that, Angelo, there's going to be specific workouts progressed throughout the span of the year that are working on people's ability to have strength, show strength, develop dynamic contractions. From there, develop dynamic contractions through volume. From there, with inside intensity. And then from there, with inside of the sport. And that whole system progresses over the span of the year as we get into sanctionals. Now, with the new year, essentially sanctionals starting August through, June, the year changes drastically. And we're going to adhere to that with inside this program of making sure that our athletes are as ready as they can be when they're following this program.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of those times too, you're probably got something, if you're looking at the compete going on in your head, I'm competing here, I'm competing there, or anything like that. That's one of those times where if you're following the compete program, you just kind of message me on True Coach, and I'm willing to help you guys really make sure that you could shape your training designated for each event that you have working on.
Absolutely.
All right, perfect. All right. So now we're going to get into a 2-week breakdown of Conquer Elevate programming. And we're just going to we're going to walk through this program with Jason. You already have an idea of what we're looking for with this, but we really want you to understand as an athlete what you need to be doing or what we're hoping that you're trying to achieve during these programs. One of the challenges that we first saw is when people were downloading these programs, Jay and I were talking, and we just want to make sure that you guys are looking for the intended stimulus of the program. And I think that is the foundation of any good coach and athlete relationship. The coaches and Jay creates a program. He helps you understand what you're looking for, or what you're trying to achieve inside of this program. And then it's the athlete's job to go and achieve that stimulus. And I think that's what really makes it great. So we're really excited to really dive into this. You ready, Jay?
I'm ready, buddy.
All right, Jay. So here we go. We have the Conquer Elevate program. When athletes are downloading, they get these 2 weeks here. We work on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on, Thursday off, Friday, Saturday on, Sunday off split. And Jay, this is your chance to really, you're the creator of all these wonderful ideas and wonderful workouts and these rep schemes for all the strength development. And so, you go through this, and listeners, about halfway through, I'm going to switch to the other page just so you could kind of see what Jason's talking about, whether it be with progressions and development and strength, or different kind of styles of conditioning pieces.
Absolutely. Thank you, Angelo. So this is an example of a Conquer Elevate program. This program in and of itself was taken mid-year over a year-long building phase. And inside this specific program, it's coming towards the tail end of a training block. And when we look at training blocks, guys, we look at anything from like 6 to 12 weeks. And what you're essentially going to see is throughout that designated training block, the percentages or intensity for weights and volume is going to increase in our effort to increase a stress adaptation to get you stronger. And that's what you guys can see here. Whether you're looking through a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, and as we progress to the next section that has the other week, you're going to be able to see the percentages and the reps that we're doing inside those percentages. So anything that says like a 60, a 70, or an 80, that's the percentage that we want you guys working at. The other thing you can notice is the workouts. And what we are doing is we're adding a general physical preparedness to the workouts. And we're doing that because we want to build your guys' base. The bigger GPP you guys have and that we create an Elevate program, the bigger capacity you're going to have for recovery and you're essentially over time handling more volume. So you can see that progression as well inside the conditioning. And you have your gymnastics. You can see the progression that we're going to do with the gymnastics in order to follow our hierarchy of needs for gymnastics of building stabilization, structure, and strength.
Beautiful. Yeah, guys. And so like we said, if you're taking a look at this, through this program, if you're thinking about, warm up and cool down and all that stuff, when you're looking at this version here, we're not extensively for these programs that you're downloading. We're not looking for, a certain peak of a certain season. So if you look at this, you probably will be able to get this done inside of that 90-minute range, which will probably be a little bit better in case you're wondering for your schedule and stuff like that. But at certain times of the year when we're being demanded a little bit more, you may see a little uptick in programming. But don't worry if that's something that's not going to fit you well, just let me know, and I'm more than happy to make things work for you. But Conquer Elevate, like we said before, if you're the guy or girl that's sitting in class and you really want to be putting more time into these things and you don't have a great way to have that structure and progression that's needed, this is going to be the best bet for you. Okay. Moving on to Conquer Masters. So Conquer Masters, we talked about the program just a second ago about who we're looking for, the progressions and regressions and even age brackets that we have it broken down for. We even spoke a little bit towards Jason and I's success coaching Masters. I even coined Jay the Pied Piper of Masters, but just been really good at understanding what it takes to help our athletes compete better in the sport, but also taking into account all of the lifestyle and outside factors, whether that be training age, work or job stress, family stress, and things like that. So without further ado, Jay, here is the Conquer Masters program.
Absolutely. Thank you, Angelo. So this is an example of our Conquer Masters program. And you can see the overall volume is going to be less if you were to look at the other programs. That doesn't necessarily mean the intensity is less. What we're trying to do is give you more attention and focus to your joints, as I discussed earlier, because it's about complete intent into your training system. And if we can develop the right amount of adaptation for you guys as you age without overwearing your joints and your system, then we're going to still be able to drive adaptation, which is our goal. And that's our goal here. So within inside of our master's program, you can see we have adherence to that within inside the lifts. Now this section itself, you can see, is towards the tail end of another training block because we had you guys working up to heavy singles. What we try to do with inside of a training block is add proper progression of intensity demand based off the specific time of the year. And as the year changes, we're going to look at different volume and intensity to keep driving adaptation. The workouts themselves, we're trying to progress you guys accordingly based off how much stress we're putting on the shoulders, the low back, the knees, and the ankles, so that, again, we can keep driving adaptation and increasing your ceiling to do more of the gymnastics and CrossFit style workouts as we get closer to sanctionals and or the open. We also have specific gymnastics workouts that you guys will see listed on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now, something that's not here that we do have listed once you guys do sign up for the Conquer Masters program is specific warm-up protocols with videos that we're going to have you guys do every single day, as well as changes within inside the program for ages 55 and up. So you can know that we will have that within inside the program itself.
Yeah, guys, Jay and I were doing our best to give everyone a taste of what we do and the type of work that we have available. But when it comes to, the inside with our athletes and all those things, we really got your back when it comes to, any sort of progressions and regressions or anything that you may see on here. For example, if you're a master's and you're looking at this and you're going 1 strict muscle up plus 2 kipping muscle ups, this isn't for me. We have progressions and regressions for everybody. We're happy to share and offer with any of our athletes that are working with us.
Absolutely.
All right, Conquer Compete. So here is your explanation of your 2-week block of programming. You just heard Jay talk a second ago about who this program is for and what this really embodies. And now we're going to give you just a look behind all this and just give you guys a better understanding of what we're looking for and why Jay actually put all this stuff on paper for you guys. So go ahead, Jay.
Absolutely. So what you can see is we get right into the AM and the PM sessions. So with inside the AM session, you're going to have capacity building. Now, this program in and of itself was at a time when we're looking to build anaerobic threshold. So we spent probably about 6 to 8 months before this program working on true aerobic capacity training. So when I talk about aerobic capacity, I'm talking about under 80% effort. I'm talking about sustainability for time. In this section, we're kind of transitioning into more 80-85% range to build that threshold, to build your ability to work at a higher intensity of your max heart rate for time in accordance with what you have in the tank from the training we've already done. Now, inside the AM sessions, you also have specific gymnastics work, and you can see that the gymnastics work is progressing with volume and intensity here as well over the 2-week span. This gymnastics work is our philosophies of how we can get you guys in a better position to perform the CrossFit workouts that involve the gymnastics. And then from there, we have the PM session. The PM session, this was another program that was taken from the tail end of a training block. So you can see we're getting up to heavy doubles and heavy singles. We're not going to be doing this every single week. What we want to do is provide the right amount of adaptation for our athletes based off the total volume that we're doing to drive adaptation based off where we need it. With inside of a training program, Angelo, you can't try to create adaptation in every single realm. That's why it's so important to have a structured program throughout the span of the year with specific focuses. If we need to increase someone's capacity, then we have to focus on capacity and then eventually bring that to threshold. You can't do both at the same time. If we're trying to increase somebody's absolute strength, we have to focus on that, and we can still work on positions, but we have to provide the right stimulus for the absolute strength. As we develop the strength, we want to transition that into more focus on the strength speed. Now, we're not negating everything else. We're still working on it, but we're putting a lot of attention for these individuals following this program on the proper stimulus needed for specific groups to get stronger in order to provide the foundation to build upon as we progress throughout the year. And that's the main focus with inside everything from your capacity to gymnastics to your barbell work, and even with your CrossFit style work, your quote unquote workouts, your mixed modal work. We're going to work to eventually build your ability to sustain high volume, to sustain high intensity, to repeat those often throughout the span of a day or a week or a training block, get you guys ready to perform for sanctional, to perform for qualifiers, no matter what the demands are that they release, because there is no set governing body for the demands of the open, for the demands of the sanctional, for the demand of a qualifier. What governs that is who's putting it on. So we want to make sure within inside this program that every athlete who follows this program has complete aptitude in all different demands of the sport. That way they can enter and feel confident.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I just wanted to backtrack about one thing that you said, because I think this is really important to touch, not only for the athletes that are using our program, but just athletes and coaches in general, is if you want to focus on your strict gymnastics getting better, but then you also want to put an absolute strength focus on your training, and then you want to put this build, an aggressive alactic or anaerobic, progression on yourself, your body is going to have too much overreaching or too much stressing in one area that what winds up happening, it doesn't adapt to anything. And I think that's what Jay was really trying to refer to, is certain times of the year, we're going to be putting priorities on certain areas, not that we're going to be letting go of any areas, but certain areas at certain times just need to be beefed up according to where we're at in the training season, and also according to your goals and where you guys are at. So as we're moving through this, I hope that you guys could see that there's different times of the year, and we're going to be shifting through this program, but this is just kind of an outline of where things are and where it's going to be. You're going to see AM and PM sessions to build up capacity. You're going to see certain things about working on certain skills like touch and go reps and different kind of things like that. And we're just trying to get you guys as prepared as we can for any kind of CrossFit competition that we're doing. But like we mentioned earlier in our programs, is we want to prepare you in a right way that you are going to be able to compete long after this one competition is done. And we're just trying to build things as best as we possibly can.
Absolutely, my man. Well said.
All right. So here we are. So to become a Conquer athlete, you have 3 options for our template programs. We have Conquer Elevate, we have Conquer Masters, and we have Conquer Compete. We went through each of those individually. We talked to you about our training principles, and we really dove deep into even what 2-week sample is going to look like for you guys. One of the things that we really wanted to touch on with our programs is we actually have 3 different options for our program. So first, we have Conquer Elevate. Conquer Elevate, Conquer Masters, Conquer Compete, which is our template program option that you get, and you get set up on TrueCoach and everything like that. We also have another program option called Athlete Plus, where you could be on a template, but you also get coach feedback. And then last but certainly not least, we have Conquer Custom clients and things like that. This is for, our higher echelon athletes, the people that are really specific with their goals, that want an individualized program, that want something really tailored to them. And so it's just up to you guys now to really decide what's going to fit really well with you guys. And also too, just for the programming, just so you guys could be clear, one of the things that Jason and I were really big on is you guys being able to track your results and really be able to see your results and everything there. So even if you buy a template program, you get set up on TrueCoach, where you're able to track and add videos and do this. And back in the day, when Jason and I were first doing this, you had to set up some blog spot, and hopefully, and that's where you had to write down all your scores and everything like that. And so this provides a really great place for you guys to have a training journal that's going to be yours. And we really wanted our athletes to feel like they had a hub for all their training and everything like that. Last but certainly not least, the Conquer Athlete Training Group. We mentioned that a couple slides ago. Just talking about this group. This is a huge supportive area, like we mentioned, that our staff is on for hours, and Jason and I is pretty active on as well. And each week, not to mention our coaches go in there, or I'm sorry, Jason and our gymnastics coach, Connor Duddy, goes in there and gives you a breakdown of each week of programming that you're going to have. So if you're following Elevate and you want to really understand what this training block is, where this cycle is, and all that good stuff, that's going to be inside this group as well. So as soon as you purchase one of our programs, we'll definitely get you added in there. You can just add yourself, or we'll send you the link as well. But we're super excited to try to create a sense of community, sense of coaching and accountability. And like we mentioned before, we're just 2 people that are just deeply in love with the sport of fitness, and we want people to experience it.
Absolutely, Angelo. Well said. Yeah, we hope that you guys got a lot of information about what we discussed and what we went through. If you have any questions, make sure you guys contact us. You can also find all of this information at www.conquerathlete.com. And we look forward to working with you guys.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much.